Victory Studios in downtown Little Rock, this is Capitol View.
Well, it didn't take him long to be out of the fray. Now, once again, the former state chairman of the Republican Party jumps into the race for lieutenant governor. And joining us here in studio is the man himself, Doyle Webb. So this is a little different than what I guess you're normally used to. Usually you're chiding for everybody else, go team, and now it's go me.
Well, over 12 years, I've done a lot of going for a lot of people. And I was always advised, don't talk about running for office yourself while you're chairman, because it'll take the focus off other people.
Sure.
But gosh, I was term limited as chairman. I can be bored very easily. Although I had looked at this and people had encouraged me to run for lieutenant governor for some time, I just wouldn't talk about it while I was chairman. And then the Attorney General gave me the opportunity to be over there and work on redistricting. And Lord, the Census Bureau is just dragging its feet. And it's going to be September, October before we get numbers. That interfered with my agenda of running for lieutenant governor, so I resigned from the Attorney General, and here I am running full-time for a part-time job.
There you go. And I guess too, why lieutenant governor? Because as you mentioned there, it's kind of the part-time constitutional office. The responsibilities can be kind of what you make of it. So I guess why lieutenant governor?
Well, Jay, and you may not know this, but I served in the Senate for 8 years.
Yeah.
From 95 to 2002.
A little before my time.
Well, maybe not too much, but anyway, Lieutenant Governor Win Rockefeller called me one day and said, Doyle, I want you to come be my chief of staff. And so I resigned my Senate seat early. My wife said, Doyle, you can't tell a Rockefeller no. And so I didn't, and it's one of the best decisions of my life, working with Win Paul Rockefeller and serving with him and traveling the state. I actually closed the office after his death and moved on. So, from my point of view, it's kind of going home.
Sure.
I know what the office does. I know what the office can do, and I know that one of the main things this office should do is it should work with the governor. We're going to elect a Republican governor, and we're going to elect a woman Republican governor. And I'd like the opportunity to be there and give advice and work on her agenda and help move Arkansas forward and improve our quality of life.
And I guess too, one of the big things is sort of running the Senate, kind of keeping it flowing over on that side of things. I know a lot of people tend to like current Lieutenant Governor Tim Griffin. He's a little happy with the gavel there. I mean, I guess if you got your skills ready to go over there, because it's a feisty bunch over on the Senate side.
I highly respect our Lieutenant Governor Tim Griffin. He does a great job. He's been a great advocate for Arkansas. I have presided over the Senate. I've presided over the Republican State Committee. I've presided over large committees at the Republican National Committee. So I'm very familiar with parliamentary procedure, Mason's Rules of Order. Yeah. I was there when Lieutenant Governor Win Paul Rockefeller broke the marble that he hit with. So I hope I can bring maybe a little bit more civility to the Senate.
Sure.
I don't know that I can, but I helped elect most of those guys.
Yeah.
And hopefully they will be respectful of that.
And I guess, too, what do you want to bring to that office? Because, I mean, obviously, like we said, it's kind of a part-time position, and you could kind of leave things open to interpretation, kind of create your own, sort of platform working in tandem with whomever the governor is. So what do you kind of want to, what's Doyle Webb's twist with the lieutenant governor?
Well, I have long believed in three things in my life: life, liberty, and lower taxes. So as long as it's pro-life, and as long as we can get the federal government and President Biden off our back, and as long as we're working to make government more efficient and effective, which will lead to lower taxes, I'm for it. I found that working in the lieutenant governor's office many times was serving people that couldn't find someone to be an advocate for them. And that's a myriad of things. But my service there, my service in the Senate, I think good constituent services is very important. I really don't plan on having a separate agenda from the governor. My goal, I'm not running for another office. I'm running for lieutenant governor. I don't have to distinguish myself from the governor, and I'm going to do my best to make sure her agenda passes and we improve the quality of life for Arkansans.
Now, have you kind of looked at both candidates, at least major candidates as of right now, their agenda? How do they differ kind of, both of them bring something a little different to the table? Well,
what I always see in our leadership is we want to improve education. We want to look at educational choice. Let's try and give the public more choice. And then let's also look at how can we make government more efficient, how can we transform government, and let's protect our constitutional rights, okay? So I think that's where I always look for how we agree rather than how we disagree, and that's how I see agreement between our candidates for governor, and I can fully support any of those things.
Now, right now it's shaping up to be a pretty fun race. I mean, with you in there now with Senator Rayford and Dr. Greg Bledsoe, it's an interesting blend of personalities and everything. Kind of how do you want to separate yourself from the two others?
And I'm not running against either of them or
Sure.
anyone else that gets in the race. I've been the party chairman. I was in the Senate. I saw the need that we could not establish our agenda unless we changed the culture at the Capitol. I've spent the last 12 years changing that culture, changing it to a Republican majority, and I think that's the difference. The people in the party, Republicans in this state, know who I am, know that I had 12 great years as party chairman. We had 12 balanced budgets. We had 12 clean audits. What more can you add? And we elected a whole passel full of Republicans. So what more can you ask for? If people don't know me, well, they need to get to know me.
Well, chances are if you're a Republican in this state, you know who this guy is. Doyle Webb, he is now a candidate, hard to believe. He's been on the other side for a long time here. Candidate now for lieutenant governor. Say that 3 times fast. Doyle, we always appreciate the time, and I'm sure once we get closer to these primaries, they're still over a year away, we'll do it again.
I'm at your beck and call. How about that?
See, that's true public service right there. Boss, we appreciate the time.
Thank you.
And we've got much more coming up for you. You're watching Capitol View on Sunday morning.
You're watching Capitol View, Sunday morning talk focused on the political scene in Arkansas.
And welcome back into Capitol View. A major turning point in America. The CDC is now saying that fully vaccinated people can go without masks or social distancing in most places, both indoors and outdoors. They say that new research is what's driving that new guidance. Our Raquel Martin has more.
The CDC director says early science indicates that the risk of infection for fully vaccinated people is low. She adds that the data also shows that the death toll and number of cases continues to drop thanks to the vaccine. In the last 2 weeks, she says the number of cases have dropped by a third.
We have all longed for this moment.
The CDC is giving the green light to millions of vaccinated Americans to go maskless.
Anyone who is fully vaccinated can participate in indoor and outdoor activities, large or small, without wearing a mask or physical distancing.
It's a great milestone.
President Joe Biden says the announcement proves the country is making significant strides to beat the pandemic.
This is a product of prompt action.
Thursday, he thanked Americans for their patience and applauded that more than a third of Americans now fully vaccinated.
For more than a year, you've endured so much. You've earned the right to do something that Americans are known for all around the world, greeting others with a smile.
But there are some limitations. The CDC says Americans should still use masks while in healthcare settings, on public transportation, or when aboard an airplane. The announcement was immediately celebrated by Republicans who met with the president Thursday.
Did you guys take your masks off in the Oval?
We did. We heard all about it.
The guidance is purely a recommendation and not a mandate. While a handful of Democratic governors immediately embraced the new guidelines,
great news from the CDC.
Other state and business leaders are holding off to first review the data. The United Food and Commercial Workers Union, representing thousands of grocery store workers, is also criticizing the decision. In a statement, the union's president calls the guidance confusing and inconsiderate to workers, unable to decipher who is or is not fully vaccinated. The union is calling on the administration to clarify its new guidance. In the meantime, the Biden administration says we still have a long road ahead. The president is urging people who remain unvaccinated to either mask up or get vaccinated. For now in Washington, Raquel Martin, back to you.
The Colonial Pipeline paid a hefty ransom to hackers. The company paid nearly $5 million as a ransom. According to a U.S. official familiar with the matter, Colonial Pipeline officials say the ransom was paid in cryptocurrency last Friday. Earlier this week, the FBI identified a criminal group known as DarkSide as being responsible for the cyber attack. The Colonial Pipeline supplies about 45% of the southeastern region's fuel, including gasoline and jet fuel. President Biden gave an update on the cyber attack that shut down the Colonial Pipeline this past week. He says the hackers were responsible. They were living in Russia, but they are not connected to the Russian government. Our Washington correspondent Trevor Shirley in D.C. has an update.
Well, the president said the pipeline is back up and running, but that it will still take a few more days to get the supply levels back to where they need to be. The president also said the Justice Department is doing everything it can to find those responsible.
Now we're seeing the effect of criminal hackers.
The president said the attack is a reminder of the need to strengthen the U.S.'s own cybersecurity infrastructure. He signed an executive order aimed at doing that yesterday. The president today said he's confident in the FBI's assessment that the Russian government was not behind this attack. He said he's also not ruled out using the United States' own cyber abilities to go after those responsible. And while the supply issues are easing, he again urged Americans not to hoard gasoline.
Here's what you can do, the drivers. Don't panic, number one. I know seeing lines at the pumps or gas stations with no gas can be extremely stressful, but this is a temporary situation. Do not get more gas than you need in the next few days.
There have been conflicting reports over the past few days about whether Colonial Pipeline paid the hackers to free its systems. Several news outlets reported the company did not pay any ransom. But then this morning, Bloomberg reported Colonial did pay $5 million to regain control of its network. Now, President Biden was asked about that latest development following his remarks earlier today. He said he had no comment. Reporting in Washington, I'm Trevor Shirley.
Last week, President Joe Biden hosted a group of Republicans at the White House in an attempt to strike a deal on his massive $2.3 trillion infrastructure plan. The group of Republican senators that met with President Biden are offering up their own version of an infrastructure bill, much smaller than the White House's version.
This is in good faith. It's a genuine effort.
In the Oval Office Thursday, President Biden met with 6 Republican senators to try to build support for his infrastructure plan.
And what we're going to try to do is figure out what we can agree constitutes infrastructure from each of our perspectives.
The 6 Republicans, including West Virginia Senator Shelley Moore Capito, have a plan of their own with a much narrower $600 billion focus on traditional infrastructure.
I defined infrastructure as roads and bridges and broadband and waterways and airports and rail and transit.
Besides the cost, a major sticking point for both sides is how to pay for the plan. Republicans oppose raising taxes and want user fees instead.
Certainly the gas tax, we could look at a vehicle miles traveled. We could look at user fees on folks who use the highways, such as electrical or hydrogen vehicles.
Maryland Democratic Senator Ben Cardin is optimistic both sides can come together.
I think we can get it done, and I hope we can do this in a more bipartisan way.
Following the meeting with the president, Senator Capito said talks were productive.
The president has asked us to come back and rework an offer so that he can then react to that and then re-offer to us.
Now, this is the second time the president has hosted this particular group of Republican senators, and the White House says we can expect more meetings in the coming weeks. U.S. congressional leaders have struck a deal to create a bipartisan commission to investigate the January 6th attacks on the Capitol. The commission will include a 10-member panel with half Democrats, half Republicans. The panel will be styled like the 9/11 Commission, with the group looking at circumstances of the attack on the Capitol as well as the influencing factors that may have provoked the insurrection. That report is due by the end of the year. And when we come back, we will look at more of your local issues, including the Little Rock sales tax and the I-40 bridge. You're watching Capitol View on Sunday morning.
You're watching Capitol View, Sunday morning talk focused on the political scene in Arkansas.
And welcome back to Capitol View. Engineers are studying the I-40 bridge, trying to figure out if the crack is an isolated incident or more widespread, and that will determine whether this ordeal takes weeks, months, even years to fix. Stacey Jacobson reports.
Even for experts who study and build bridges every day, this case is raising eyebrows.
When you saw the picture of the crack, what did you think?
Yeah, I mean, I was shocked.
Civil engineering professor Dr. Adil Abdel-Nabi has actually worked on the Hernando de Soto Bridge through a partnership between his employer, the University of Memphis, and the Tennessee Department of Transportation. But in that capacity, he says they were studying earthquake protection, potentially overlooking the bigger danger.
There is a big problem here.
Are you saying that this bridge is perhaps structurally deficient?
In terms of design, yeah, having a design like that, the M shape of the bridge, I was, that the middle span is sagging more.
He explains the bridge was designed back in the 1960s, before computer models could predict issues like this.
What happened is that these cables in the middle stretched too much.
That's why he says he's tried bringing the risk to TDOT in the past. He showed us this proposal from 2019, suggesting the department make upgrades to prevent fatigue cracks on metal bridges, exactly like the one we're dealing with now.
We have submitted these proposals and they were overlooked.
At this point, TDOT says inspectors are looking at how long a fix will take.
Until we have that analysis complete, we won't be able to answer that question.
To do that, Abdel-Nabi says they'll use x-rays to see if there are cracks in other parts of the bridge. If there are, they'd have to replace a big chunk of it.
The shortest, you're talking about like 6 months to a year.
A prediction echoed by TDOT's chief engineer.
It's plausible that this could be months rather than weeks.
A little bit of good news, though. If inspectors don't find evidence of other cracks, they say it should be a quick fix that should only take a few days. TDOT officials say their forensic inspection will still last another couple of weeks. It is important to note that all this came about after the crack was found during a routine inspection. The inspection worked as it should, lives hopefully saved. I-40 is classified as a fracture critical bridge, meaning it's an older bridge with a lot of traffic. RDOT handled 10,384 inspections in 2020 and only found just 670 issues that needed attention.
We certainly don't want, anything to come in under, but that's not a bad return, I guess. But, we certainly want to make sure that the fracture critical inspections or bridges, if you will, are in the best shape possible.
RDOT says every bridge in the state is inspected at least once every 2 years, and if a bridge spans a waterway, divers will actually inspect parts of the bridge that are submerged once every 4 years. The Rebuild the Rock sales tax has been tabled once again, this time stalling for at least 2 months. The Little Rock City Board of Directors was supposed to vote on that ordinance in last Tuesday's special meeting. Director Kathy Webb motioned for tabling shortly after the meeting started. The reasoning was to allow neighbors more time to go over the proposal and to see what happens with federal funding headed to the city from the American Rescue Plan. Mayor Frank Scott Jr. voiced his disappointment with the delay.
This proposal represents innovation and growth. A vote to delay is stagnating.
City leaders voted to delay the proposal 8-2. The next possible vote will now be on July 13th. As Governor Hutchinson reports of a slowing demand of the COVID-19 vaccines, Arkansas healthcare workers are now going the extra mile to get shots in arms, literally. Our Samantha Boyd shares the new statewide efforts to get shots out to Arkansans hoping to catch up on vaccination goals and to get the surplus of those shots out to anyone in need.
With efforts to get vaccine clinics closer to Arkansans for accessibility, it's often just a short drive away for people to get the shots. But that's not the case for everyone.
The Arkansas Pharmacists Association is taking the lead and helping people that can get to a vaccine location, get the vaccine, whether they're homebound or lack transportation.
Nikki Hilliard is the Director for Professional Affairs at Arkansas Pharmacists Association. She says thanks to a recent grant, 75 counties across the state now have coordinators that pair people in need of vaccines at home with pharmacies able to give them. Meanwhile, others, like Medical Arts Pharmacy, were already making plans to get shots to homes.
We are working with the Fayetteville Housing Authority to try to go into at least some neighborhoods where transportation is a little more difficult, and we can be there, close by.
Pharmacist Julie Stewart says with more than enough shots available, she's more than willing to go the extra mile getting shots to people directly.
If there's people out there that are willing to get it that just aren't able to, then we definitely want to be able to reach those people.
We just tried to make sure that everybody gets the health care that they need, and pharmacists have been willing to step up, and not just pharmacists. We have, nurses and EMS and home health care agencies. Everybody's working together trying to make this happen.
Governor Asa Hutchinson gives the go-ahead for children 12 to 15 to receive the COVID-19 vaccination. This comes on the heels of the FDA authorizing the Pfizer vaccine for emergency use for those as young as 12 last Monday. Parents had mixed reactions on the announcement. Some say they trust the professionals and are already looking for appointments. Others, however, unsure of the effects and want to give it a little more time.
I think it's a good idea because we're around other people, and I just think we have to trust the professionals.
I just don't think it's worth risking the health of my son at this stage.
CDC guidance is expected to come out again. From there, most providers will be giving out the Pfizer vaccine ages 12 and up. The governor wanted to make the announcements early enough so parents could already start scheduling those appointments. And we are back to wrap it up after this. You're watching Capitol View on Sunday morning.
You're watching Capitol View, Sunday morning talk focused on the political scene in Arkansas.
And that is it for this week's show. We're back at it again all new next week. No papers, no more show. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.